All right, culture wars now more than ever. Major League Soccer trying to get into the mainstream. They have the greatest player, arguably of all time, in the lineup, who had one of the best
Arguably.
seasons of all time.
Arguably. Wow, that's a statement. Arguably? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Rob. I know other players existed. Cruyff existed. Maradona existed, but continue. Sorry.
Well, MLS is definitely seems to be doing their utmost to gain popularity and get into the mainstream, but we found an article that says, does anyone care? And we have one of the top shows on ESPN saying they're not even going to be in their top 3 screens. So what will it take to get Major League Soccer into the mainstream of America?
Yeah, so a couple things here. I don't know if I'm framing this as getting MLS into mainstream. Like, I don't think I don't even think that should be the goal at this point. Like, I don't think that's how MLS should think about it. And I don't think soccer fans should be carrying this burden of how do we make soccer mainstream. First of all, soccer is mainstream. Soccer is mainstream in America because mainstream has changed and soccer is big and diverse and eclectic and happens all over the world. So while you want to, if we talk about MLS specifically and their business and their attempts to matter more in the American sports discussion, there's something there, right? There is a conversation to be had there, and obviously they want to grow because it would benefit their league, bring more money in. That money can be spent on players. They can become more competitive in ways that are important, not just for making money, although everybody will say, of course, MLS just wants to make money, but in terms of maybe having players that are not here at the end of their careers or here at the beginning of their careers, but are the best players in the world in the middle of their careers. One day that should be the goal for MLS ultimately, right? If you want to continue to grow. Now, there's also an argument maybe that you kind of know your role and you kind of accept where you are. I don't think anybody at the Eredivisie headquarter offices in Amsterdam are like, oh, how do we get to the Premier League level? They kind of know that ain't happening for us, right? We might want to grow and get better. We might want our teams to be more competitive. We don't want Ajax to get hammered or whatever in the Champions League, but we kind of know where we're going to be. I don't know that America is capable of that. So there is this sense that you have to grow, you have to get bigger, you have to attract more eyeballs, you have to bring more money in for whatever purpose, all those things. Right. So I don't know that mainstream is the goal, but there is something to be said for having Lionel Messi in this country right now, playing his soccer with Inter Miami, and that not making the dent people think it should make, or that MLS is fumbling the bag on Messi. I've seen that opinion so many times on social media. MLS is wasting Lionel Messi's presence here. And the reason this comes up is a couple of things. One of them being this tweet or post, I guess this is a tweet, from Jose Roberto Nunez, who covers the Philadelphia Union. And he's got a video attached, which we're going to watch together from PTI on ESPN with Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon. Legacy media in this country has so far to go before they realize how much money they're leaving on the table by actively demeaning one of the most popular sports in the world, becoming harder and harder to justify the U.S. being a host nation when the largest sports outlet does this. Okay, so we got to take apart this thing from Jose, who I like. I've talked to, good guy, covers a team in MLS. Calling ESPN the largest in capital letters sports outlet, is he technically correct, Rob? Maybe.
Maybe in someone's mind, but yet, to a young person, I can't imagine it is.
I don't think
it hasn't been peak for a long time.
Nearly as much weight as Jose is giving them in this tweet. Like, I don't think ESPN is driving conversation the way he implies they are by putting this here. Now, but he is also, if you notice, he is not putting the burden on MLS. He's putting the burden of responsibility on ESPN, on Mike Wilbon, on Tony Kornheiser. Now let's watch the video that Jose put into this thing so we can get a context for what's going on here.
The MLS playoffs are tonight. Inter Miami hosts Nashville SC. Who you got?
I got 3 TV screens, as you know.
Right.
None of them will have that.
Okay.
I'll have the World Series large. I'll have 2 NBA games flanking. I may click over to watch your boy wearing pink. I may do that.
Okay, so this is what got Jose all worked up. That Mike Wilbon said, I got 3 TVs. Mike Wilbon should have more than 3 TVs, right? I feel like Mike Wilbon should have like a wall of televisions. But anyway, my point, I don't have a wall of televisions. Why would Mike Wilbon have a wall of televisions? He's saying, I got 3 screens and I got baseball and 2 basketball games. I'm not doing now. Okay, couple of things. Really, again, maybe we're making a mountain out of a molehill. This is the last 30 seconds of PTI on Friday, right? From a channel that does not have MLS rights anymore, which is worth pointing out, right? That this is not, and some of this comes, I saw Awful Announcing write this up. They wrote up that Mike Wilbon said this on ESPN and then talked about how ESPN doesn't have any incentive to push MLS anymore because they are no longer rights holders because MLS has taken their ball and gone behind the paywall over at Apple TV. Is that a factor here? Maybe. I also think it's important to note that Mike Wilbon's just an old school sports journalist. Like, he's an old school sports columnist. Soccer was not in his repertoire for the last 40 years. Like, he might give it some space. He's willing to admit that soccer can matter. He certainly knows that the rest of the world cares very much. And I don't think he's the worst of these offenders, but how many sports columnists over the years, Rob, have written the piece of, well, if God wanted us to kick balls, he wouldn't have given us hands. America, this is an American sport, is anti-American. It's a communist sport, whatever it is. He's not that guy, but he still holds the small seed of that idea that soccer is not ours, therefore we shouldn't care about it. So I don't know how much I think Mike Wilbon is a representative of a problem from ESPN's perspective or whatever. And Jose obviously takes it to, we shouldn't host the World Cup because ESPN doesn't care about soccer, which that's wild logic for me. But there is you painted this picture. There is absolutely a conversation to be had about whether or not MLS is wasting Lionel Messi. This is from John Mueller at The Guardian on Friday, the same day that Mike Wilbon said what he said. John Mueller wrote this piece at The Guardian, dropped this piece. Lionel Messi just had the best season in MLS history. Does anyone care?
And a lot of a lot of it was like when he tells people that this is the case, and people are like, "Oh yeah, that tracks," and aren't necessarily invested or anyway. They're just like, "Oh yeah, sure, fair enough. That that tracks out. Why wouldn't he come here and do really well?"
So I guess part of this is how much can MLS do? Right? Like it feels defeatist to go, well, MLS can't do much when the Premier League is the best league in the world and the Champions League has the best players and Barcelona, Real Madrid are going to play on the weekend. There is, and obviously this is also a league competing with the NBA, which is back and bigger than ever before. College football is rolling right now. The NFL is happening right now. Like, all of these things which drive American sports attention, the things that consume most of the oxygen in the room, are happening right now, both in terms of soccer and in terms of other sports. So I think there is a fair question to ask of what MLS can do. Now, part of this, though, is MLS had a season that played out through a lot of the year where there was only baseball. There wasn't football. There wasn't other things. There wasn't European football even to compete against until August. And you look at the regular season attendance, and Major League Soccer's attendance dropped from 2024 to 25. And Inter Miami's attendance dropped from 2024 to 2025. Now, my first instinct, having watched this play out for the last 25 years as a soccer fan and having been an American sports fan for a lot longer than that, is that people like new stuff. New stuff is exciting. New stuff is, this is new. I want to go be the one who was part of it when it was new. Once it stops being new, people lose interest. And that's not true for the NFL, but the NFL has already established itself as the monster, right? What I'm saying is again, is MLS pushing the boulder up the hill and it will always roll back down? Or is there actual progress to be made? And I don't think you can deny that MLS has made progress. But what do setbacks like this mean, Rob?
What do they mean? Oh my goodness. I think part of it is it's not widely within our culture, to your point of like NFL just keeps marching on. They have the success, and they do have new players come in almost every other year just because the attritional nature of American football and the NFL. But yes, to your point of looking at this screen and looking at that bar graph, the spectacle of Messi was the thing. But then once it goes from spectacle to just he's a player, a really good player in the team in a lot of people's minds, that could be a big part of the reason for the cooling.
I mean,
and I like
in the beginning, it was, we've never seen Lionel Messi do that here. in MLS, in America. I want to see it up close. I want to see it in our buildings, in our stadiums against our teams. And then once he's done it 30, 40, 50, 60 times, oh, well, now that's just a thing he does. And also it has that unfortunate effect for MLS of diminishing the league. Because now, oh, Messi just runs MLS. Well, that's because MLS isn't very good.
But at the same time, the point of that conversation, he would do that at any other league, right? He did that to La Liga.
Sure, Rob, but that requires filling that gap in with thinking logically past what you're seeing in front of you, right? That requires an extra effort of thinking to go, well, of course he would do this anywhere else. And again, that's not provable. And for people who don't like MLS, this feeds the narrative that MLS is trash and Lionel Messi is running MLS because MLS is trash, right? That's just a thing. But obviously, even for people who don't really care about MLS, they might not even have that sense or really understand that Lionel Messi would be doing this regardless of where he plays. This is MLS being damned if it does and damned if it doesn't. You sign Lionel Messi. Oh, that's great. You got Lionel Messi, the greatest player in the world. And then he starts scoring a lot of goals. You go, well, that's because MLS isn't very good. So what do? Don't sign Lionel Messi? Don't sign the greatest player in the world? Don't bring him in? Then people will say, well, you can't attract players like Lionel Messi because he doesn't want to come here because MLS isn't very good. You're damned either way. You're damned either way. And look, that's not to say MLS should throw their hands up and say we quit. You just got to keep doing what you're doing and chipping away. This is a drop of water on a stone, erosion level stuff. Like, we're not talking about sudden fast changes. And we are living in an era where everybody wants everything to happen so quickly, and it's probably just not going to work that way. And as I said before, and I think we talked about this with the La Liga game being canceled for Miami last week, that I wrote about it on my newsletter too. I wrestle with this thing of like, does MLS need to be protected? Or sorry, not even just MLS, American soccer need to be protected from things like season matches from La Liga happening in America? Because do you think the Spanish authorities would be like, hey, the Premier League wants to stage a game in Madrid? That's totally cool. Come on over and have a game. I don't think so. I don't think they would do that. And they have a big league and they have one of the best collection of teams in the world. And they still would be like, no, this is our territory. You can't come in here. And yet, because America looks like a cash register to everybody, oh, just go take it over there. And you know why? Because MLS isn't big enough to have that sort of cultural weight to say, no, we already have a league here. But why shouldn't our league get to be treated like all those other leagues? I don't know.
Well, I do think that the analogy of the drop of water on stone is apt. And then, we don't have the cultural force field to be able to repel anything like that. Just think about the American sports that go overseas. Like NFL is playing in Germany. Germany doesn't have an established league to be like GTFO, out of our league with your American league.
But also, that's the thing. Like, this is also where MLS is a victim of the timing of all this, the era. Right. So MLS comes along in 96. What else is happening in the world in 1996? We're all getting connected through the internet, right? The communication becomes so much easier. The ability to see what's happening on the other side of the world changes overnight, essentially. And to communicate, again, like to see these things, but also to talk about them. So Major League Soccer never had an opportunity to sort of, or American soccer, again, whatever league happened, we didn't have that opportunity because we kept screwing it up. Obviously, the NASL was an effort at this. And the NSL is interesting in that regard, Rob, because people showed up for the most part. I mean, obviously, were teams that struggled and they were poorly run and they were playing in the wrong venues and things like that. But NASL was relatively popular. Certainly, we talk about the Cosmos attendance numbers and things like that. And nobody, I mean, there were expats, sure, but nobody was like, oh, this doesn't compare to the first division. They weren't thinking about that. It was just, hey, we've got this is soccer. We've got guys that can play. Let's go out and watch it. Whereas everything that happens for Major League Soccer is being compared against something else. Like, every single thing MLS does is compared against something else. And the reason that English football initially, but also all those other leagues, all those other countries that picked up this game that the English and the Scottish exported, the reason they were able to create their own culture is because nobody was standing there going, well, this doesn't compare to what's happening over there. Because they couldn't even tell what was happening over there unless they were getting a letter in the mail 6 months after something went down, right? They weren't seeing it. I don't know. This isn't to say that MLS is a victim here at all. It's not. It's just to say it's a different kind of challenge for MLS than it would be for almost any other league that's trying to do what it's trying to do. And I don't know if there's an appetite for anybody, even the haters of MLS, for MLS to just kind of, sit down and go, okay, we're good now. This is where we're at. This is who we are. We're a middling league in a giant world full of football. And we'll always come up second or third in our own country to leagues from England or Mexico. Right? We'll always be a second fiddle kind of operation. If that's what, if you think MLS can never be more than that, maybe that's the right approach, right? Maybe that's what they should do. But again, like, there is that innate thing, be it because we're American, be it because it's the modern world and capitalism rules, be it because we can see everything else and you just find that competitive juices start flowing. But there is that thing of, if you're not growing, you're dying. And Major League Soccer has embodied that. They want to grow as much as they can in every way they can, with some constraints on how they spend, because they are still conservative on a significant level. I don't know. It's
the MLS,
a big messy
the
thing.
MLS, and just American soccer in general. The balloon that's still being held down with some ropes, perhaps from a variety of different.
Yeah, and look, and
sectors.
this is none of this is to say that MLS can't do things, that MLS shouldn't be doing things differently, whether it's with Messi, whether it's with the competition, right? We've argued there are too many playoff teams, devalues your regular season, right? Maybe the League's Cup was an attempt to find ways to bring value to the middle of your campaign, but I'm not sure that's going to survive anymore, right? Spending rules, the designation on players and how it restricts spending across your roster. These are all things they need to address, things I think they're doing wrong. And maybe that's all part and parcel of this problem they have of not getting Mike Wilbon to watch their games.
But I feel like there is that cultural erosion, because it's not too long ago when, every Sports Center clip had, if they showed any soccer of any stripe, there would be an undermining comment or a mispronunciation or something in what do you call it? It's something intentional to undermine the showing or the airtime of soccer. And that was 10, 20 years ago, when you couldn't even get a Real Madrid clip to not have a snarky remark attached to it. So I just think that the Wilbons and them need to be, they'll eventually move on. And in the new generation where soccer is in their, wider zeitgeist takes over, like most things, time. But whether or not it'll be the preeminent soccer league in our own country, time will tell.